Morning, Kindlech. Here to God willing go weiter in the Maimer Acharon Shel Pesach Tuf Shin or Tuf Shin Chaf as we're listening it, so we understand. Said in Tuf Shin Chaf, edited and printed. Tuf Shin We thank hand selected and edited by the Rebbe Melch Mashiach himself. As always, learning to bind our souls to God, give pleasure to God, haste and redemption. Okay, let's try to God willing learn Old Zion and maybe even Old Chus because it's pretty short. Old Zion. Actually, the last few was all pretty short here. Alright, so we were talking about that concealments for the sake of revelation, the concealment of the first symptoms for the sake that this ultimate infinite light could be revealed here. Oh, we need a joke. Two fish were in a tank, one says to the other, how do you drive this thing? We talked about that even people who, there's a difference between seeing godliness and understanding godliness, the difference between what's obvious and what you have to reason into. The default state and the reason state, for most people the default state is a physical world, but if they think into it they can realize it's God. Some people even have prophecy, or in the middle is that they have the ability to see things with the mind's eye. It's a rare people, but even for such people, since they're Navur, their godliness they're perceiving in some type of way of sight is coming from the Kav and not from the original light before the Simsum. It's still in a manner of Chadsh, it's novelty, and they still more or less process themselves as living in a world, but maybe a godly being in a godly world, or a godly world with a human being, or whatever it is. But in ultimate redemption, the godliness is going to so permeate the world that when we look around, what we're going to see first is God. It's not going to see world and God inside the world, God that fits in it. We're going to see God, that the world itself is God, the pillow is God, the picture is God. And that God fits into it, however it is. So O Zion, Valderek Zeg, Hayagam Berias Olakus, Shaisu Mesmik, should say the same thing about seeing godliness in the Holy Temple. We should have it right away. Everybody could see godliness in the Holy Temple. Here calls a Chacho, Zuchurecho, not sure the vowels. Why? Because the light before the first contraction shined in the base of Mikdash. Everybody could see this. Nothing to talk about. Open miracles, busting nature. That's the way to say it. Even a person who has prophecy now, he walks around and he sees a natural world. The laws of nature contain godliness, are godly, but you still see patterns and rules and how to say it, but in the temple you saw just absolutely nature-busting stuff. Greatest miracle, in my opinion, being the Ark, but no one really got to see that except for the high priest once a year, if he even really saw it. He's probably busy with the service. That's called Nimnahim Nos, that the Ark took up space and didn't take up space at the same time. That's how, that's Hashem's greatest trick, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe it's that he makes stuff something from nothing, but to be infinite in a finite space, to take up space and not take up space, that's phenomenal. The Ark did have dimension and measurement, but it also didn't take up space in the way that if you measure from wall to wall, from wall to Ark, it's as if it weren't there. Hashem was able to be there in a way of not being there, as if he does in all around us all the time. He's always here in a way of not being here. Okay, very nice. So everyone could see it. It was nature busting. It was, if your flesh sees the sea split, that's seeing godliness. You see the godliness right there in front of you. You don't have to think into it or reason or experience or intuit. It's just what you physically see. A prophet nowadays still sees a physical world. But he sees a lot of godliness in himself, and he can see it in the world, from himself to the world, in other people, and generate a very godly experience. But at the end of the day, if it turns off, it's a physical world. When it's on, it's still a physical world that just has godliness sort of transcending through it. But in the future redemption, he's just going to see godliness. It won't be effort. It won't be have to think into it. But nevertheless, even seeing godliness in the Holy Temple wasn't totally natural. Since it was only there, and outside the Holy Temple it wasn't the same. Alright, move on. There's a base of so it must be there's something about the temple itself that made these phenomenal visions of being able to see godliness, about the place. Sad Gilid or in Sof show how your Bismigdash, there was some special light shining in the holy temple. Mashain Kain lasted love. Not so in the ultimate redemption. In the ultimate redemption, we should have it right away. It'll be a really natural thing. It won't be just limited to the temple. Guy could go to the temple, a girl could go to the temple and see whatever they saw, and it'd be miraculous and godly. But when they went home, it might look like the same home. God forbid, hopefully they were so inspired and influenced to change them, and they redefine their eating habits and sleeping habits and whatever they need to do to become a more godly being. And being a mode of shlichus and helping the other person and whatever it has to be. Kamashika's the Veros Kobasa, that all flesh saw. The Hatchuna Shaline Basi, he often gives this Shirilakus, that in the ultimate time should have it right away, that even the fleshy part of the eye, without changing anything, will perceive godliness. Now, if you just look as a what do you call it, as a mutt, so to speak, you're going to see physicality. You know, your eye just naturally, the light hits the thing, it goes in your eye, you perceive a physical item. The picture in the background, my hat, my face, my jacket. You know, it takes a certain thinking or inspiration or a way of going about things. It takes some effort, a move to get to a godly space or to see the physical things of godly. Ultimate redemption, you have it right away. When you look, you're just going to see godly stuff. Should be awesome. Alright, Ozches. So Ozion was so too by the Beis Hamikdash. It was limited. It was a limited revelation. Something special about the Beis Hamikdash. So too by the special people now. It's unfortunately limited to them, although I think anyone could have it if they refine themselves and work themselves up. Those are my words. And on the same, even for them, it's limited. Even for the prophets nowadays, it's limited. It's limited to the light of the Kav. Certain times they see it, not all the time. Whatever it is, and still within the natural world. So at special times they're able to see, they should be thankful, inspired, and want to serve God more because of those things. Alright, going weiter into Ozches. Tzarek lahavin hari gilid orin tzuf habligu mitzias olamos hem shnei hafim. So we have to understand that the revelation of the infinite light of God and the entity of worlds are actually two opposite things, completely opposite. And when the infinite light of God was shining before, there was no chance for worlds. And to have a chance for worlds, he had, Shem, so to speak, had to remove the light. I like the model, put the idea to the back of their brain. To get the new thought, you have to stop thinking about what you're thinking about now and give a chance for the new thought to come in. Alright, so when this light was shining, there was no room for worlds. And since to have worlds, the light had to be put to the back of the brain, so to speak, which isn't so revealed. So if the whole problem in the first place to get worlds was you had to get the light out of the way, how are you going to tell me at the end of the days we should have it right away? The light's going to come back and you're still going to have the world. To get a world, and how much more a human being with flesh and perceived of self-existence and independence and ego and entity, that now they've made these, independent things, that this infinite light can come back and somehow he or she's going to maintain her independence and still be able to perceive this infinite light of God. The whole problem in the first place was the infinite light of God was shining. Told me all these things couldn't be, the person and the world couldn't be if the infinite light of God was shining. And tell me at the end of the days this infinite light of God's coming back. But the person and the world are somehow still going to be able to exist and receive it. So how does that work? I mean, if it was a problem in the first place, why isn't it a problem in the last place? Well, we should have the ultimate redemption right away. The Rebbe says, since every contraction is for the sake of a revelation, that the revelation should also be in the world. So the whole point of worlds isn't opposing revelation. It was just a technical thing to have worlds at that point. You needed a certain concealment, but not that the worlds themselves oppose revelation. On the contrary, since the whole point of the contraction was for revelation, so the world, so to speak revelation. It's just a matter of getting in touch with that. How do you understand that the world speak revelation? It seems like the worlds are the concealment. What do you mean they speak revelation? Well, if you understand every concealment is for the sake of revelation, this is a nice start to try to understand. But the whole point of making the worlds to reveal the inner intent of the Simsum. So nice all This is done by the Jew during the time of Gullus. It should be over right away. We should have the ultimate redemption. And the Rebbe said, we have to start mostly with Netzach, victory. Don't make any accounts. Just go win. Nothing can get in the way. And in a way of mysterious nefesh going against the grain. So the worlds are here to reveal that the ultimate point of the contraction was for a revelation, to reveal the innermost point of the contraction was for a revelation, that Hashem wants to dwell here, even in the worlds, that you should be able to receive a godly world, that God is everywhere and He loves you enough to let you be part of it, and He wants to be here with you in your way and His way together, so to speak, in your own way, where you get to be you and be with God, 100%, eternal life, the whole thing. The Rebbe says many times we get up eternal life in these bodies, we just have to receive the face of Mashiach Sekenu, which means memorize the Tanais and say it in the streets, and learn Nyani Gula Mashiach, so let's do that. The last paragraph, all pizeh yuva mashim also b'maimer sharida historically. So now we can also understand this concept of every descent is for the sake of an ascent. It's a very nice thing if a human being can keep that in mind throughout his or her day. If there's a setback, God forbid, to know that it's ultimately part of an ascent. It's nice. If you knew every time that God set you back, God forbid, at least the way it looked to you, so you could get momentum to jump higher, you'd be inspired even during the setback, and you have some oomph and want to go. But if you really feel set back, a person could, God forbid, get depressed, put their head down, and not do so much, and then they're not producing. But if they know the whole thing is just giving them momentum to jump much higher, then they'll be kind of excited, inspired to go. And that's an inspiration a person could take, even if they don't really understand how they're going to get higher, or where they're supposed to go, or whatever it's supposed to be. If they just know that it's good and for their best, helps them move forward in a positive, happy way and go do their service. And if a person does that, and trust in God, it's likely it'll be revealed to them what the ultimate goodness was, which is very nice. So let's try to know that every time God sets us back, God forbid, it's for our own good and to take us higher, and to take us to places we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And sometimes you just have to jump. And if I have time, I'll tell you a cute story at the end, one of my favorite stories. I don't know if I should say cute, one of my favorite Rebbe stories. Shebezem of our Tezeh Shal Yidavod Zman HaGolus Tihiyah Gili Dalas Alavi Hu Raki Gili Danyanim Shamaylam Asaga that through our service in Gullus there will be the revelation of the ultimate redemption, which have it right away. It's not just talking about the things that are higher than comprehension and seeing, that Mashiach reveals them because He's a king, but even the things of comprehension and seeing. It's not just the godliness that transcends your being, but even the godliness that fits into your being. That even as a Rav, Mashiach's going to reveal these things. That seems to me, I don't want to say the wrong thing, a little bit more similar to now. See what this means. Even this comes about through the time of our service in Galus. This that the future redemption shall have it right away. That all flesh will see. From the flesh itself, a person just in a natural way will perceive godliness. That's through revealing the intent of being sent down here into this body. You were once blissing out with God upstairs, so what do you need to be sent into a body for? For the sake of an ultimate aliyah, Sharidat Circ aliyah, that it's for an aliyah. That's interesting, because some people, as I understood it, some people see some of the Sasag and Riyah stuff now, and it's implied to me, not say clear, that the Rebbe Melech Machine seems to be saying that even for such people, there will be a change in the future, that maybe it'll be more constant. Or maybe he's referring to people who don't see it at all now. But a person who can wrap their head around, a person who only can approach God through intellect, God forbid, hopefully they can get there through the mind's eye and through prophecy too. Everybody should have it. Will be, although, and what are the prophets going to do? Let's just have the redemption right. We'll worry about that another time. They for sure will see how everything that they understood is godly. Well, they'll be able to see it as godly, and everything. For sure, for everybody, the default state will be godliness. That'll be novel for every human being on the planet. But for the people who are perceive some level of godliness now, what the chiddush will be for them, I assume it'll be more constant. There will be no default state of world and these type of things. I wish I had more time to explore this idea. Chaim. Anyways, a cute story of a chassid comes to the Rebbe, been serving God for 12 years. He says, Rebbe, I can't do it anymore. No more tefillin, no more this, that. I can't take it. It's too much. And the Rebbe says, jump on my desk. And the guy, anyone else tells you jump on their desk, you probably think, what's going on? But it's the Rebbe, Melech Mashiach. The guy takes 2 steps backwards. The Rebbe says, what are you doing? I told you jump on the desk. The guy says, I had to get some momentum. The Rebbe goes, aha. So that's, if we know time we get a step back, God forbid, I hope you just go forward in a light, happy way, although you're not going to appreciate it as much as when you work hard. Still, I'd like you to get in a light, happy way, and let's just have redemption and party and the ultimate redemption and bliss out with God. Only let's learn Torah all day. It'd be great. Not worried about easy or hard. Let's just get to the goal. Be nice. Yeah. You know, it's when you get through the hard, it's nice, and you're like, yeah, I did something. But you know, when it's hard, well, that's what we're learning here. I'd rather just get to the goal. Let's have the ultimate redemption, godliness revealed, and let's have it now, eternal life, all the good stuff. And we'll enjoy it, and we'll enjoy God, and we'll be good people. We are good people. Be nice. Anyway, but you appreciate what we worked hard for more. But what we're saying here is, God forbid a person experiences a setback, if he can keep in mind, or she can keep in mind, that's ultimately for the sake of an ascent and a greater ascent than they would have had if they weren't set back, then it helps them approach it in a light, kind of happy way, and move forward with happiness and confidence, and stay away from, God forbid, depression, woe is me, and self-pity, and all the worst things for a human being. So to be happy and confident moving forward, be good. And I did tell my story. I want to see if I could pull out this one point a little better. So ultimately, that we serve now, it's not just going to be that we're going to reveal things that are so much higher, that they're actually godly, that Mashiach reveals it in the way of king, these transcendent things that we can experience. But even the things that we can kind of wrap our head around, that even the revelation of these things comes to our surface and goes through learning His Torah. It helps us see godliness in the world. It helps us perceive the godliness in the world. Alright, I feel it a little, Leonard. I think that's right. When you learn the Rebbe's Torah, when you learn Mashiach's Torah, it changes you. It changes your lens and your vision for how you see the world. You're able to get a little more naturally in touch with that type of vision that lets you see godliness all the time. And the more, not all the time. Maybe we could say that a prophet nowadays, when he turns on his Hasidic side, he is perceiving godliness in a godly world, and it's still, limited to the extent that it's a world he's seeing and perceiving as godly. Although he can take it all the way to the level of king and perceive it as God, if he's on his A game. But the default state is to be who he grew up as, or be a human being, or be some part of his fears or experience. The more chassidus he pours into his soul, the more natural the godly perspective, even for these natural things, becomes. It's like, it turns the chassidish part of him on. So the more chassidus he learns, the more he can look at the world in this way. Alright. So, if we learn more, if we refine our person and we work hard and we eat right and sleep right, when we learn more chassidus, we will perceive more of a godly world. Be happy because we know God's God, He's got our back, He's got the oneness. Be able to move forward with strength and confidence and do good things. So it's like the Hasidic side of the prophets was letting them see prophecy. Hasidus turns it on, so to speak. Alright, so we should all have our Hasidic side turned on. We should have a lot of prophecy, and ultimately we should just be redeemed with the Rebbe Malcolm Shakes who came. Alright, share now.